Well, it's August, and you know what that means. It means it's going to continue to be hot, it's going to be gross, icky. School starts back, and teachers are going back. And since, we're on the topic of school and teachers, I figured it appropriate to break my usual pattern of videos I've been doing about gaming and silly, stupid crap. By the way, too, while I'm talking about school, represent Neo A&M. North, it's not Neo, is in like Matrix, Northeast Oklahoma. My sister playing volleyball for him. She started going this year, so excited for that. Represent Miami, Oklahoma. That is. So now I can say I've been to Miami, just not the Miami that you probably know and comes to mind. I'll say it's less busy, so that's good. But getting back to the teacher thing, I wanted to make a quick video talking about teachers. I know that we have all been in school, or maybe some of us are still in school if you're watching this. And maybe we've had some good teachers, maybe we've had some bad teachers, but I feel like the the press, the media tends to hyperfixate and focus on the bad experiences. You always hear about the teachers that get in trouble with things with kids. Maybe they DUIs, they do things, bad things, illegal things that are kicked out of things for things they post on social media, whatever it is. And you hardly ever really hear about teachers doing good things unless it's something in a very extreme case. Often, when I have seen it, the very few times it's been when there's like a bad mass terrible accident and the teacher sacrifices themselves for the students and throws themselves in the line of fire. That's the only time I've ever seen teachers really get put on a big spotlight for doing something good, and I hate that it has to be that extreme. Another reason why I'm making this is because I have a lot of teachers, both in my family, my wife's family, and just people that I know. My wife is a teacher. My mother-in-law is a teacher. My mom is a lunch lady. She's a manager for their school's kitchen. And so I just want to do a special shout out and thank you for all the teachers out there, the schoolwork, not just the teachers, faculty, administration, the staff, and lunch ladies, janitors, even anyone that helps make a school run and operate. I know a lot of times we look back at school, or if we're in school, it's like, oh man, it sucks. We hate it. It's boring. I know. Trust me, I've been in school. I could not wait for it to be over. I think everyone in school is always looking for it to be over, and nobody really wants to go back. But I'm really dating myself and making myself sound old, being 25, almost 26, saying that like I wish I had treated school a little differently, at least high school, and not been as much of a rush to get out. Not so much because of I just miss being in school, but just giving teachers and those relationships another chance, realizing that teachers aren't just people that show up to try to give you work and make your life hard. Again, apologies if people have had bad experiences with teachers. I know there are teachers out there that are just in it, for whatever reason other than the kids and to better people's lives and to, help education and stuff like that. But there are a lot of good teachers out there that don't really get the recognition. It's a lot of hard work. Now being married to a teacher, I see how they come home every day with stories of what's going on, and kids, they have to repeat themselves a bunch of times. They basically have to take care of them. They're like a mother, basically, or a father. If you're a guy teacher, you're like a parent to those kids and having to plan and, people tend to get angry at teachers. You have a lot of parents that get angry because of how they teach or the things that they do or they don't teach or how they operate or they don't take care of bullying or this and that. And yes, those things are important, but there's only so much they can really do because you got to work with the staff. You got to work with like your principals, your assistant principals. You got to work with what the state, like I know for at least my state, I don't want to see too much about where my wife works. Again, I'm not like taking a shot at anyone and getting in trouble. I just know at any state, you have to work with, what the district says. You have to work with and again, I'm not a teacher, so I don't know everything, but what the state says and your principals and not principals like the actual people at your school, but the principals like PRINCIPLE. Had to make sure I spelled it right, and things like that come down the line, the trickle down effect from the state and even the federal, like from a nation. You have to work with rules, regulations, your standards and everything like that. There's a lot of stuff she's explained to me that I don't understand all of it. But you have to work with what you're given. You have to, play with the cards you're dealt and do the best you can. So I get that, a lot of teachers have to deal with a lot of angry parents or upset parents, and they try to feel like they want to teach the parent or they want to teach the teacher how to teach the kids. And teachers, I mean, they go to school. They have to do a lot of hard work. They do have to do a lot of training. I don't envy them. I have considered, I'm looking into maybe being a substitute teacher for the time being, just for some extra income here and there in between my editing and recording. And so, I see that it's a lot of hard work, and that's why I don't think I could ever do it full term or full time. And also, like I said, my mother works in the kitchen. People that don't always get the attention, lunch ladies, janitors, people like that are on staff that maybe they don't have the glorious part of the job. Not that I think teaching is glorious, but the people that maybe don't get the spotlight on them as much, or not in the center of attention as much. I've seen now that my mother's been working in the school nutrition system since I was in like 7th or 8th grade. So a good chunk of my life now, probably at least, I think it's been 10 years or almost, if not. And I see how important it is, like nutrition, how, it's easy to just be like, oh, lunch ladies are weird old middle-aged ladies that just are gross and we get served slop. But I don't really feel like, I mean, obviously it depends on your school and your district and everything and the funds that they have available to them. But at least when I was growing up, like, I was kind of in that weird awkward phase of, it's not like in the 80s and 90s when people talked about school food being slop. And, now, like, I see the stuff that they work on. She's going to conferences. She's going to different things, trying to learn new ways and, like, push for new things that they can bring to the kids. And, like, they used to, a couple years ago, they did a ramen bar. They do all these new things, make all these good foods. And it's not like the foods that they used to see or like you see in movies and TV shows where it's like, ew, disgusting slob. Like, nowadays, like, I see their kitchen and the way they operate and the things that she's pushing for, and I'm kind of happy and proud because, like, it's not just someone being in a job and like, oh, I'm just going to do the job that they expect and do this. Like, it's not a glorious, glamorous job that pays a bunch, but she's still very excited to do it, and she reports in to work happy and wanting to be there for the kids and, making them breakfast, making them lunch, weekend things when, kids that need meals on the weekends that maybe don't have access to that stuff, summer stuff, meal trains, all different sorts of things and programs being a part of and pushing for new things for kids to, have these experiences. And, you never know when kids don't get to have meals at home, especially like in districts where they're not as privileged with finances and money. It's a lot of stuff that you don't realize what goes on. People are, like when I was a kid, it's easy to be picky for things. And then you see people that don't get meals at home and they look forward to those meals. And it's the difference of being able to have a nice meal, someone prepare a nice warm cooked meal for them for breakfast or for lunch or both, or maybe being able to have a meal taken home to them. And so I know I joke around and make a lot of silly stuff on the channel, talk about gaming, goofy stuff, funny stories. And there's a good chance that there's probably not even any like teachers or people that know teachers or like, that have close relationship with teachers. It might not appeal to anyone on this channel, but if you're seeing this video, I just want to say, like, hey, just keep in mind teachers are going back to school. Have some sympathy for them. If you're a parent with kids, try to make a teacher's day. Like, giving them a gift card to go eat somewhere or something. Bring them some school supplies to help out, because sometimes, like, if you're in my wife's position and you're in a school district that doesn't always have the most money, sometimes you end up buying school supplies on your own money. Just because you need the kids to have stuff. You're not going to let the kids go without the things they need at their school. Contrary to what some actually believe, teachers are not rich. Teachers don't make that much money. Obviously, it depends on the district you're in and the state. And maybe in some states and some districts, teachers are very well compensated. In some, especially in the South, they're really not. So there's some states that are really bad at it. We're not the worst in our state, but we're probably near towards the bottom. I know we're not at the top. So there's certain things you have to work around there. If you know a lunch lady, a janitor, anyone there, you know someone that works for a school, at a school, just make sure to give them some thanks. Be appreciative of them. Have some patience with them. Just keep in mind that, like I said, if you are a kid, they're helping you out. If you have a kid, they're trying to help your kid out. They're, doing a lot for them, or there's doing something for someone in your neighborhood, something of the sort. Real quick, the last thing I want to shout out is one of my favorite teachers. I had a lot of teachers that I liked and some that I didn't like, but obviously the teacher that I feel like I'm the closest with and that left the biggest lasting impact on me. I had a teacher, Mrs. Bunsgard, that was my broadcast journalism teacher through like 4 years in high school, freshman year through senior year. When I was kind of going through a phase of not having a lot of friends, moving friend groups, uh, being kind of like feeling like a weird kid and not really knowing where my niche was in school and what circle I was in, not really knowing what I wanted to do for my career. And, I was kind of in one of those schools. We were in a tiny school. My school now or my alma mater, or whatever you want to call it, they have a lot more money now and they're a lot bigger now than they were even when I was there, like 7 or 8 years ago. So it's already a lot different. But even at the time, we're in that weird, awkward phase of like having money and resources for some things, but the school board didn't really know how to use it. And so, especially with journalism now, like broadcasting sports and editing and then school news, I was into that kind of stuff. It's why I like video editing now and recording and all this sort of video, audio stuff like that. It's what really helped me find something that I was passionate about when I was kind of directionless and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. She very easily could have been someone that a lot of the kids in these classes treated it like a blow off class. It was just something fun to get credit for. And she took it very seriously and made it a fun, welcoming place for me and some of my friends. I remember staying in lunch to learn things and to work on things. Even if I just needed a place to relax and I didn't want to be sitting by myself in the lunchroom, at least I was sitting in there, talking with her. We even had little pizza parties sometimes. There was a lot of fun stuff going on. So I even, when I got married, I invited her to the wedding, her and her husband. Fantastic people, just super awesome human beings, and and a great teacher too. And so I'm very appreciative of the impact she had on my life. So, and I'm sure, hopefully, everyone has had someone like that, a teacher in their life, or will have at some point if they're still in school, or maybe you have right now. Hopefully, there's someone like that for your kids or your brother or sister, whoever's in school. I think those people are very important in their life, and it's easy, like I said, to hyperfixate on the bad situations and bad teachers you had, people that caused you trauma or got you in trouble, people that blamed you for things, maybe treated you differently. I'm very sorry if that happened, but just know that that's the minority. That doesn't always happen. There's a lot of good out there. So just want to make this quick video just to talk about that, and we'll be back to more fun stuff later on. But just felt like it was my duty, my responsibility to spread some positivity and come out here and talk about nice things and remind people that yes, it's fun to goof off and be silly and nerdy, but there are people that do a lot for us that don't always deserve the recognition. So maybe at some point I cover other professions or people that have left good positive experiences in my life. So there's that. Thank you guys, and have a great day and a good rest of your week.